Out of it. All right. All right, guys. Special edition of the Win the Fight podcast. We are live in person with my man Scott
What's going on?
Lim.
Yes, sir.
Scott, how do I know you?
Well, I think the initial meeting is Iron Valley Barbell and that crew over on the west side of Indianapolis.
Yes, I think before we had a conversation, we actually had brunch together
Yes.
with mimosas.
Yes, alcohol was involved.
Yes, so that's a great way to start any friendship. Scott is always super positive on social media. He's in the Noblesville area, and I'm like, dude, you gotta come check out Top Contender. And now he's here.
I'm here.
Just gave him a tour. Now we're doing an impromptu podcast. And me and Scott both have a background in MMA, but quite different,
A little different.
backgrounds. Scott, go ahead. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, but how did you get into MMA? And
I got into
What do you
MMA a little bit on the retail side. Was involved doing freelance work, graphic work for a clothing company called MMA Elite, who were one of the bigger sponsorships before the Reebok deal with the UFC, when it was kind of more the Wild Wild West as far as sponsorship goes. So I did all their graphic work, apparel graphics, social media, anything that you saw that went out on fighters. Came from me.
so I think it was a pretty interesting story. You were at, it was like a beat-ups?
Yeah.
Watching fights?
Yeah, we were at a sports bar watching fights, and just so happened that the table next to us were the two owners of the clothing company. Struck a conversation. I think they could kind of tell that I wasn't your average mixed martial arts fan, kind of knew the game, knew the insides and outs of the business side, and just kind of struck up a partnership.
It's amazing. So tell me, like, what that did for you. Like, I know you traveled to fights. You saw a lot of great fights. I'm pretty jealous about. What was your role kind of going forward with them, and how did you get invited to all those cool fights?
It was very much a team community in the business. So when you're putting out graphics and stuff, we did a lot of stuff for the fans. We sponsored a lot of fighters. We would put on autograph signings at fights. We would invite fans to come out, and we'd do viewing parties. So we would just kind of go as a giant family to all the fights. So I've seen more than a handful of fights in my time. Been to Vegas, been to Chicago, LA. Just being around the fight game before the popularity and seeing it grow now is something that blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm a little bit jaded because I was starting off in those Wild West days where some days you would show up to fights and your opponent wouldn't, but another guy would, and you'd end up fighting this other guy who you don't even know, but they're kind of the same way, and that's how you do things. And
Those are the old days of.
Oh yeah. So, tell me, how did you get involved with Iron Valley, and kind of what experiences happened to you to get you to the point where you are today?
Backstory on joining Iron Valley. Most of the people at that gym know that I was born with spina bifida hydrocephalus, and was at the time looking for a gym where I could just be a regular gym goer. I didn't want to be treated with kid gloves. I didn't want to be the charity case. I just wanted to be able to lift and do my thing. Initially, struck up a conversation with Jay Hasseltine from Iron Valley, and he was the one that invited me in and got me around the core group of guys. Didn't meet Zach, the owner, until probably 2 months into going there. Our schedules just never linked up, but I was really searching for a place where I could just be a normal person, and Iron Valley gave me that opportunity.
It's a great atmosphere. I know Zach likes to refer to it as like the greatest showman, and there's a bunch of misfits, and that's kind of what drew me to Zach, is because I'm coming from this MMA background. I have a little bit of an edgier personality, and I just didn't fit in with a lot of like corporate, gyms, and it was refreshing to have a place like that in Indy. And now since Iron Valley, there's a lot more places that are willing to kind of be themselves and not conform to a bigger gym mentality.
It's interesting to see how the fitness landscape has shifted in that way. You're seeing a lot more of the garage, local gyms shift to that mentality more so than people going to a big box gym now.
Yeah, I feel like that's also just like more authentic, as more people are okay with being more authentic themselves. And I feel like they want something that they can relate to and not something to kind of idolize. I think people in bigger gyms, they tend to like, okay, well, this is what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to look like, as opposed to being in your own lane, doing your own thing, and kind of being yourself, which I think is a newer concept for most generations. I think our generation is okay with being different.
And I think the stigma has always been with gyms like Iron Valley is, I'm not strong enough to lift there, I don't fit in, those guys are much more serious lifters. And then you get to actually experience the community that's in that gym, and it's not what you had previously thought it was.
Yeah.
They're breaking the mold in a lot of different areas to where mindsets are changing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a mind shift that's kind of going on, because I was introduced through Zach, through my wife. It's like, hey, this is guys in Indy, like, have you heard of him? I'm like, I scrolled his page and I'm like, some douchebag guy, like hardcore powerlifter guy. We have this preconceived notion, and then you get to know him, and there's so many layers there that so many things that I could relate with to Zach, that I wouldn't know unless I had that kind of deeper understanding.
I tell people this all the time. I had the same preconceived notion of Zach. I wanted nothing to do with Zach when I first, because that just wasn't the
Sorry,
time.
Zach, we love you, but
And now I would give the shirt off my back for Zach.
yeah.
But you look at him without talking to him, and he portrays that giant powerlifter, tattoos everywhere, not going to talk to you. And then you talk to the guy, completely different. Like, I would give the shirt off my back for Zach.
Yeah.
But on first judgment, I didn't want to be anywhere around him.
Yeah. He has like a larger than life kind of personality, and
He is 100% Zach all the time.
Yeah. And then you meet him, and you're like, wow, I thought you'd be taller.
Oh, 5'7".
But no, what they're doing there is really great, and I think it's helped a lot of us be okay with not being like, not feeling like we fit in, but finding a place where it's okay to stand out.
And to anybody that has their preconceived notions, just show up on a Saturday morning and look at the crowd that's in there. Like, the diversity of people that are training on a Saturday morning in the same space, you won't find that anywhere else.
Like, they have, people from all walks of life, bodybuilders, they got, hardcore powerlifters.
Pro athletes, they got NFL guys in there, they've got soccer moms, everybody, and we're all training in the same space.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. It's great what they're doing, and like that gives me hope for building, my clientele here at Top Contender, because we're not like most gyms. We actually got away from being like most gyms to do our own thing, and yeah, like we're not like most gyms. We have heavy bags, we have boxing stuff, but also we have weights. We have, we got a massage room. We're trying to get a massage therapist with. Like we're trying to differentiate ourselves, and yeah. I think
Yeah, coming here today, I realized when you first walk in that it fits a multitude of clientele.
Mhm.
You can see multiple styles of life coming here to train.
Oh, yeah. And we just had a mom come in. We have some older clients. We have young, like 16-year-old kids who are wanting to fight. Like we have a diverse group already, and I want to add to that diversity. So, kind of go back a few steps. Explain to me. So you had a lot of surgeries, right?
7.
7 surgeries. And what's been getting you through all of this? Like, what's your driving factor?
Mind shift has changed over the years, obviously. In my younger years, middle school, high school, you kind of just, I think, out of immaturity, develop the woe is me, why is this happening to me? And I think that's pretty standard for any kid going through it. And then as you mature, you kind of just realize these are the cards you were dealt. Play them. Like, no one's going to show up to save you. And as soon as you realize that, your mindset can change.
Yeah.
As soon as you realize that this is what you were dealt, play it, you can go from there.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is your, like, do you have like a mantra or something that's just like,
Like for me, it's always been just show up. And I see it in every walk of life that the biggest obstacle for everybody is they quit. Like, just show up.
Mhm.
There's nobody on the planet that wants to do everything every single day that they're alive.
Oh yeah.
Just show up and get through it. Grin and bear it. Like, you're gonna have days that are gonna suck. We all do. Like, as much as you want to see everybody's highlight reel on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and everybody's having their perfect life, it's not how it is.
Yeah, and it's something like myself I've had to come to terms with is, not putting those bad days out there in a way where it's like, oh my God, like, feel pity for me. It's like, hey.
But it's a reality.
Yeah. I feel like people are afraid to show that vulnerable side of them. Because I didn't want to do that because I didn't want the pity. Like,
And I'm the same way. Like, I could put out, my hospital visits, my doctor visits, any, list of medical things, and it's just a giant pity party if you let it be.
Mm-hmm.
And because people are, for the most part, good-natured and kind, they will take pity on you. And there comes a point where you just don't want that anymore. Like, I get it that you're trying to be nice, and I appreciate it, but I don't want that energy. Like, I don't want your pity.
yeah, it's restricting.
Yeah,
You're only
it puts you in a box.
Yeah, you're only gonna grow so big if you have this, containment around yourself. Scott, thanks for sharing your story with me.
Absolutely.
What are some of your goals that I know you have something that you're working towards, but tell us a little bit about your goals and how we can help support you.
Goals for me, kind of got sidetracked with everything that's going on in the world right now, but 2021 Special Olympics powerlifting, looking to not only make the state team but make the national team. and that journey starts whenever the world gets back to
Yeah.
semi-normal.
Mhm. We're getting close.
We're getting a lot closer than I thought we were going to be at this point. Training for me never really stopped, but not having a concrete goal in mind will kind of hinder you in some spots. So it'll be nice to know when there's a date on the table that I can finally get after it again.
What's that process like? Because I know, like, a lot of us probably aren't as familiar with the Special Olympics process of how that would work. I would assume there's some sort of like regional or something.
Yes,
that you would qualify for.
kind of like any high school competition. We have a regional, which is the state of Indiana. They call it regional, but it's the entire state, and that's in Terre Haute every year.
Okay.
And then, depending on how you perform, you can be selected to the national team. And then nationals, you place top 3 at nationals, you're going to the actual Special Olympics international games.
Okay, cool. I'd love to follow up with you, have you in when you have that date, and we can do what we can to support you with that goal. I know training and travel and all that kind of adds up, so I'd love to help support you in any way I can.
Absolutely.
Any parting wisdom? I know you're a pretty smart guy, so what do you got for us?
I think the biggest thing that I take solace in is just knowing that no matter what you're going through, no matter the situation, you yourself have survived 100% of your bad days. Like, your track record, you're undefeated because you're still here.
Yeah.
So, yes, times will be bad. They're tough for everybody. There's a lot of people going through some tough times right now. But just keep showing up.
Boom. Just keep showing up. Scott, where can we find you on the social medias?
Scotland5 on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of it.
Awesome. Definitely recommend following Scott on Twitter. Always not just positivity, but real.
Yeah, just trying to keep everything in focus. I mean, social media gets crazy, as you know. I mean, everybody's throwing their hat in the game, and it's everybody's highlight reel. And
It's a hot freaking mess.
it is a giant mess.
Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Till next time. See you guys.
There.